Hello, I'm Amanda Smith and I'm going to prepare a recipe for French toast. So let's go ahead and get started, and then while it's cooking, I'd like to talk to you about why I chose this particular recipe and also about some of my processes. Our recipe calls for 4 eggs, which I have already cracked into the bowl here. We're going to add 2/3 a cup of milk, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and this recipe has a few different optional add-ins. I'm not going to use any of those, but I like vanilla in my French toast, so I've got a tablespoon of vanilla here that I'm going to go ahead and add. And we're just going to whisk all this together. And it's not necessary to use a whisk. You can use a fork or a spoon. I'm just using a whisk because it's easier for me. And once you have that nice and mixed up, what you're going to do is just take your bread and go ahead and saturate one side and then the other in your mixture. And transfer that to a preheated griddle, and I typically preheat my griddle to approximately 300 degrees. Now our recipe calls for 8 slices of bread, and that's going to feed 4 people, or maybe 2 very hungry adults. And I'm going to go ahead and wash my hands and rinse this bowl out. Now, while this is cooking, there are several reasons that I chose this particular recipe. One of them is that it's very quick to prepare. So you'll see that from start to finish, it's roughly 15, maybe 20 minutes. And another reason is that I typically already have the ingredients in my kitchen. So the bread, the milk, the eggs are things that I will already have on hand, and that will make it easier for this to be a go-to meal for you and your family. Another reason that I chose this specific meal is because it's easy to adjust and modify to feed however many people you need. So you can easily double this particular recipe if you need to feed, say, 8 people. You can do that with less than a dozen eggs and only 1 loaf of bread. Conversely, if you would like to feed fewer people, the rule of thumb is typically 1 egg per person, or 1 egg for 2 slices of French toast. So if you're just feeding you and a roommate, you can do that easily with 2 eggs, and that would make 4 slices of French toast for you. The reason that I have pre-portioned all my ingredients is because it makes it a lot more efficient for me while I'm cooking if I have these small dishes and I can just go ahead and pour them in there without having to run back and forth to the fridge for the eggs or the milk or the butter and pouring them all out and measuring them. If I already have them all pre-measured, it's easier for me to go ahead and dump it in there. And as you saw while I was soaking the bread in the egg mixture, I would have had to wash my hands between every slice of bread if I was having to reach into the bag for each additional slice. So that makes it a lot easier if you already have your bread and everything else prepared and ready for you to go. The final reason that I like to pre-portion my ingredients is that a lot of times my children, who are ages 6 and 4, like to help me cook. And so if I have things already prepared, then I can just hand this to my son and say, go ahead and pour the milk in there. Let my daughter go ahead and pour in the cinnamon that's already measured into here, and we don't have to worry about containers and measuring spoons and that sort of thing. So that's one of the reasons that I prepare my ingredients ahead of time as well. Now what we're going to do is just go ahead and let this brown. And one of the nice things about the griddle is that you can prepare a large amount of food in a relatively quick time. And I know I have this side of my griddle tends to heat a little more quickly than the other side. So I like to check on that side first. So we'll go ahead and turn these over, and you see they're getting nicely brown on one side. And you may notice as you're dipping your bread in your mixture that usually the first couple of pieces of bread will get more of the cinnamon on them, but you won't really notice that as you're eating, so it's not really something that you should be concerned with. Another thing that I'd like to talk about as this other side browns, and it usually browns a little more quickly on the second side than it does the first, is I was having some trouble with my recipes. They were getting soiled or they were getting buried under different ingredients on my countertop. So what I have done is I have taken some Velcro adhesive and put it on the back of my cabinets, and then you'll see that my clothespins also have Velcro adhesive on them so that I can just simply pin my recipes up here, and it makes it easier for me to be able to read them and to hopefully keep them out of harm's way here. Let's go ahead and check on the other side of this. And they're almost there. And you can prepare this for breakfast. A lot of times before my son goes to school, this is something that's nice and quick for me to prepare him if he would like to have French toast. Or you can do it for brunch, or even for dinner a lot of times. The kids really enjoy having breakfast for dinner, so we'll do that around here sometimes too. And you can prepare other things with it, or you can take it to, for example, if you're having a pitch-in dinner where the theme is brunch, you can prepare French toast, someone else brings bacon, someone else brings eggs. So it makes it a very versatile recipe, and I found this recipe on simplyrecipes.com, and I'll include the link for that under my presentation. So we're just going to give this a couple more minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and move some of these dishes to the sink. I like to clean as I go. It makes things a little easier at the end of the day. It can also help your kitchen time be more efficient if you have things set up to where it's easy for you to access everything you need. So you'll notice I have my spice rack right here, close to where I'll need it. And my other supplies I keep close in these cabinets as well, so that I always have everything I need close at hand and I don't have to go searching for them. And we should be getting about finished here. Now when your French toast is done, you can go ahead and transfer it. Obviously you can transfer it to a plate or to any other dish that you would like, but I like to go ahead and use an oven-safe dish, like Corningware for example, because that makes it easier to go ahead and transfer to the table if you're a fan of family-style dining. You can go ahead and take your whole dish over there and everyone can just help themselves. Also, if you're going to be preparing another dish to go with your meal, then that leaves you free to go ahead and pop this whole thing into the preheated oven, and it'll keep your dish warm until the rest of your meal is ready. Now once you're all through with your French toast here, you're going to serve it with butter and syrup, and you can maybe put some powdered sugar on there. We used to do that when I was a kid, but this is going to add a lot of your fat and your sugar to your recipe, so you want to go lighter on that in order to keep your recipe more healthy for your whole family. So there you have the finished product, French toast. Bon appetit!